Welcome to my movie recap. Today, we will highlight a comedy film from 2019 titled Son of a Rich. Let's get started. Grisha is the son of a billionaire who lives a life of luxury and privilege. He spends most of his days partying and drinking without any sense of responsibility. One night, he gets pulled over by the police for speeding and tries to bribe Captain Semyonov, but the officer refuses to take the money. In his frustration, Grisha tries to drive away, and Semyonov jumps in front of the car to stop him. Despite this, Grisha callously continues driving with Semyonov clinging to the hood of the car. Eventually, Pavel, Grisha's father, pays the bail and releases his son from police custody. However, the chief reminds Pavel of the destruction that Grisha has caused in recent months, including sending a police officer to the hospital with grave injuries. After the bail gets paid, Pavel scolds Grisha for his behavior and threatens to cut him off, but Grisha doesn't care because he knows his dad is all bark and no bite. Pavel, feeling incredibly stressed about his son Grisha's behavior, seeks comfort from his friend Anastasia, a TV producer. He is at a loss as to what to do with his son, and sending him to the army is not an option since he already got him out of being recruited. Anastasia suggests a guy she knows who used to work on horror movies, and Pavel agrees to meet him. They visit Lev in his creepy house, where he showcases his special effects expertise by pretending to hang himself from the ceiling. He then shows Pavel a method of scaring Grisha straight, which involves using realistic special effects to make him think he has been severely injured. Despite being initially freaked out by Lev's demonstration, Pavel agrees to hear out his plan. Days later, Grisha comes out of a club and sees his car being towed. In a panic, he chases after the tow truck, only to suddenly get shot and fall unconscious. Grisha wakes up in a stable, confused and wearing strange clothes. The stable boy, Artyom, tells him that he needs to saddle the horses or their lord will get angry. Foreman Avdi comes and kicks him for not following orders, and the landowner Dmitry and his son Alexei show up, giving Avdi a whip, which he uses once on Grisha. Dmitry tells him to get the horse ready or he'll get more punishment, but Grisha jumps through the window and runs away. As he runs, Grisha asks people for help, but nobody seems to understand him. He falls into a lake and returns to the village to get dry clothes, where he is captured by Avdi and taken to be hanged for running away. Luckily for him, Dmitry's daughter Aglaya shows up and asks her dad to have mercy on the prisoners because she's tired of all the killing. Dmitry agrees, and Grisha is allowed to live. However, it turns out that this whole ordeal was not real. It was Lev's plan to teach Grisha some discipline, and Pavel's money allowed for an expensive production. Lev is in charge, with the help of Anastasia, who uses her experience to keep the illusion going without any mistakes. Cameras are hidden everywhere in town, and there's always a sniper on standby to shoot Grisha with a tranquilizer if needed. Despite Pavel's doubts after seeing his son being whipped, Lev convinces him that it's for Grisha's own good. While Grisha is alone, the actors are given scripts for the next scene, and the director reminds them of the rules, such as no shaving, wearing certain clothing items, and jewelry. Alexei makes fun of Aglaya's contract, which requires her to act as Grisha's love interest, causing him to question the line between acting and reality. Grisha starts living through an awful routine in the village, waking up before dawn, eating unappetizing food, working with horses he's scared of, and getting whipped every time he's disrespectful. One afternoon, Aglaya confesses to Grisha that her father wants her to marry an old, wealthy man, and Grisha thinks it's a great idea because the man will die soon, and Aglaya will inherit his fortune. Later on, Grisha steals a chicken and eats it all himself, without sharing with Artyom, who had helped him prepare it. When Avdi discovers the theft, he threatens to whip someone at random if the culprit doesn't confess. Grisha remains silent, and Artyom is taken away for whipping. Grisha doesn't care and explains why to Artyom, who shows him the fake scars on his back. Grisha then sees Liza wearing modern underwear, and he tries to see it again by throwing her on the ground, but other villagers intervene. Seeing as Grisha isn't making any progress, Pavel wants to shut down the whole operation. However, their discussion is interrupted by some big news. Grisha is looking for Liza to apologize. The villager actors initially ignore him because he isn't supposed to know Liza, but Lev sees this as an opportunity to make progress and orders the actors to tell Grisha where she lives. Grisha apologizes to Liza, who is cautious and has brought a weapon just in case. Liza accepts the apology but promises to still be wary of him for a while. Some days later, the villagers celebrate Ivan Kupala, a traditional holiday considered to be the most magical night of the year. At the party, Grisha teaches the musicians how to play the lambada and gets the villagers to form a conga line. Aglaya tells Grisha that the prospect of an arranged marriage is too much for her to handle, and she plans to walk into the lake that night. Instead, he searches for Liza and tells her stories about the future. Their conversation is interrupted by Artyom, who tells Grisha that Aglaya has been seen near the lake. Grisha rushes to save her and bring her back to the village. However, he later searches for Liza and wants to spend the night with her to see if the legend about Ivan Kupala is true. Liza isn't interested and closes the door on his face. The next day, Lev decides that Liza will be Grisha's new love interest, so she becomes another actress on set. She doesn't like Grisha and won't kiss or sleep with him, but she does want to help him become a better person, which doesn't please Alexei. The production begins a new plot in the story, and Alexei gets drunk downtown and causes a lot of trouble, getting the sheriff hurt. Grisha gets jealous because he thinks Alexei had an entertaining night out, but his attitude changes when Dmitri asks him to take his son's punishment in exchange for his freedom and good food. Meanwhile, Anastasia and Lev start to get along again, and Pavel worries that they may get back together. Lev finds this idea funny because Anastasia obviously loves Pavel. This is shocking news for him because he thought their relationship was only carnal, and now he has some serious thinking to do. Grisha is punished with 24 whips, but Pavel can't bear to watch, so he leaves the room. Anastasia follows him and comforts him by explaining how well Lev's plans work. After the punishment, Grisha goes to the landowner's house to ask for his freedom papers. But Dmitri isn't there, so Alexei receives him and violently attacks him, calling him an idiot for believing they would set him free. Grisha thinks about defending himself, but ultimately decides to leave without a word. Grisha continues to work as a stable boy but spends more time with Liza and falls in love with her. One day, while they are on a walk, they see a bird drone flying in a strange pattern. The producers prepare a sniper in case it falls, but Liza tries to distract Grisha by telling him it's her guardian angel. The technicians regain control of the bird and remove it safely. Meanwhile, Alexei and Aglaya are angry about how things are going. Aglaya can't believe she's been replaced by Liza, and Alexei is unhappy about his girlfriend spending time with another man. They end up making love in a carriage and are accidentally discovered by Grisha and Liza, causing Liza to feel hurt by the betrayal. Lev fires Aglaya and Alexei, but Liza is still upset. Grisha decorates the stable with candles and makes a special dinner for her to cheer her up. They go stargazing, and Grisha admits that he would marry Liza if he were free. He confesses that he wanted to punch Alexei but didn't because he saw himself in him. Touched by his growth, Liza kisses him. Meanwhile, Aglaya is on a talk show, telling the world that Grisha has been kidnapped and tortured for fun. The police announce an investigation, causing Pavel to panic and want to shut down the operation. Lev tells him it's too soon and suggests a final heroic act for Grisha to pull off, to send a group of Mongols to invade the village. Grisha is with Liza when they are told that the Mongols have attacked. Artyom tells them to quickly return to the village, but Grisha suggests going the other way to avoid danger. Lev feeds Artyom false information through his hidden microphone, saying the Mongols will burn the village if every worker isn't there. In the village, the Mongols demand a woman, and after a duel between the woman's father and one of their soldiers, the father is decapitated, buying his daughter's freedom. The leader then chooses Liza, but Grisha, who sees the bird drone fly overhead as a sign from Liza's guardian angel, decides to do the right thing. He gets on a horse, grabs Liza's old stick, and hits the Mongols on the head before taking Liza and riding away. After a while, the police arrive on set. Since Grisha is not around, Pavel, Anastasia, and Lev lie to them and convince them that they are filming a movie, and the officers leave without arresting anyone. Meanwhile, Grisha and Liza ride past the estate limits and find a gas station, which confuses Grisha. Liza is about to explain everything to him when the sniper attacks and knocks Grisha out. Grisha wakes up in the hospital, and Pavel tells him that he has been in a coma for 3 months after a car accident. When Grisha asks about the village and Liza, Pavel pretends not to know what he is talking about. Grisha tries to go back to his old partying life, but it doesn't feel right anymore. He even gifts his car to Captain Semyonov to compensate for what he did to him. One evening, Grisha finds Alexei and Aglaya in a club and tries to ask them about Liza, but they pretend not to know him. Grisha apologizes for the confusion, looking incredibly defeated, so the actors take pity on him and give him some information. The following day, they take Grisha to the ranch where the production rented horses and Liza works. Finally, Grisha sees Liza again, and he asks her if what she had said was true and it had all been natural for her. When she confirms it, the couple kiss and begin a new relationship. Sometime later, Grisha takes Liza as his +1 to his father's wedding to Anastasia, where he thanks him for putting him in this crazy project and making a better person out of him. From then on, more spoiled rich brats are taken to the village often, and Grisha helps with rehabilitation.